Welcome to the Louie Herron podcast, where I'm going deep into business, sales, leadership, and life. And I mean life, from the boardroom to the bedroom, from business acquisitions to personal addictions, from being saved yet still feeling like a slave, from manning up to mousing out, dealing with divinity to reality. This podcast is dedicated to growth, learning, inspiration, and healing. Jump in, hang on, and hang out. You'll never know which topic I'll tackle next. But one thing's for certain, I'm here to share my experiences, strengths, failures, and hope, all to help us live life at the highest level we can. What's going on, guys? Welcome in the Louie Herron podcast. I'm your host, Louie Herron. A little bit under the weather, but I had to push through here a little bit and give you guys some valuable information. I feel I'm excited to share with you today. We're just embarking on 2024. So my thinking was, how do we ensure this is going to be the best year we have put together in quite some time, if not ever? So I'm bringing you 5 ways that I believe that not only am I working through and working on, I want to share them with you as well, that can give you the best year you've had, hopefully in a long time, if not ever. It's kind of interesting. My computer got locked up the other day, and literally it had me frustrated. Control Alt Delete wasn't working. So eventually I had to take the thing to Best Buy, and I had some virus on there. And when, obviously he did what he had to do, he fixed it or whatever. And I'm walking out and I'm thinking to myself, man, how many of us, how many times do you have a virus on your hardware, right? Your hardware is your mind, right? Your programming, you've got this virus of doubt or worry or uncertainty. And begs the question, do we got to get fixed, right? And I think so many times when we're in a day and time right now where people are absolutely starving to get better, to grow, to better their circumstance in their body, being, balance, and business, right? There's so many things. And I think it's so important that how you perceive is typically how you receive. And so when things keep perpetuating in your life, whether they're good or bad, obviously if they're good, keep those going. But if you've got some things that are stumbling blocks, some viruses going on in your hardware, you really need to stop and just change the perception, because how you perceive is how you receive. And if you dissect the word perception, it's an immediate, intuitive recognition apprehended by the senses and your mind, right? Cognitive or understanding. So that leaves the perception very subjective, and it can change in a matter of moments. So always remember, regardless of what you're currently experiencing, it can change like yesterday, like boom, right now it can change. And I think when we're talking about changing, we really need to take a hard look at having a phenomenal 2024. Now, one of the things that leads me to my very first way that I think you'll have your best year ever is you gotta sit and look at your 2023. This is being recorded on January 31st. So obviously at this present moment, we're merging into the second month of this year, right? So should have already been happening. If you hadn't done this yet, I'm going to suggest that you do, because you're only 1 month out of the gate. And chances are good when people make resolutions, they often stumble right around this time, if not maybe a week ago, right? So I think it's a hard stop. It's a course correcting opportunity. And what we're trying to do on this podcast, guys, is to grow and expand in our business, our sales skills, our leadership skills, right, through life lessons. And obviously that affects our body, being, balance in our business. So let me share with you my reflection of 2023. Okay, so this is that raw, unfiltered shit. Because my year was rough. My year was a complete shit show. Literally, 1 year ago, I was entering into rehab for dependency on alcohol, and my wife was at the time moving out of the house and leaving. That's how the year started at the end of January. I made less money than I had made in 15 years last year. I officially got divorced in June. And I had the pleasure and the luxury of enjoying Christmas Day by myself, enjoying the conversation with me on how in the hell I put myself in the position that I did throughout the year. But here's the beautiful part. Guys, here's the beautiful part. I don't tell you that to, oh man, look, I don't mind sharing with you. It was just a rough year. But the key is, what did I learn, right? Because I want to live forward and I want to learn backwards. So if I wasted all of last year's shitstorm and I didn't grow, I didn't learn, I didn't get better, I didn't pick myself up, I didn't figure the shit out and get moving in the right direction, it would have been a wasted blessing from God. Because I believe truthfully that God allows every single thing we go through to be exactly like it's supposed to be, so he can do exactly what he needs to do with you or me. That's just a perspective. Remember, I told you your perception, what you perceive, you often receive, right? So again, so what did I learn? I learned to focus on sobriety. I learned to stop worrying about what other people think and put a solid plan together for 2024. I learned to remove any relationship with females. There's no need. I got to get the relationship with myself at the highest possible level. I learned to find ways to be selfless, to nurture my relationships that count, that matter, my children. So I say all of this because regardless of what your year went through, the number one thing we can do to change 2024 is reflection. So write that down, reflection. It's an honest appraisal of your 2023. Now, look, you're 30 days deep into 2024. We got to jump on this. Okay, this is meant to learn, expand, and do more of what served you last year and less of what didn't. Some of you may map out 2023 and it was a phenomenal year, and congratulations. Now we got to duplicate that. We got to better that. We got to better the situation. Reflection. You've heard me say it, guys, that what a man doesn't reflect, he's going to often project. And what we normally don't reflect, we get on this karmic cul-de-sac and we just keep repeating the patterns, baby, and it doesn't seem to get better. So you got to take the time to self-reflect, put pen to paper, and just chart it down. This shouldn't take no more than an hour. This is not a deliberation of how bad things were or even how great things were. We don't need to read our own press clippings. I mean, if it's a great year, fantastic. Let's identify what served us and what didn't serve us. I mean, the separation is always in the preparation, right? To separate 2024 as the best possible year, we're going to have to reflect and prepare, right? So we can have that keen awareness to get ourselves to the next level. Now, the scary part about this is that's point number one. And my gut is most men won't do this. But again, growth is not just the education, but it's the application, guys. These things are not necessarily rocket science, but the applications, the action, the work, the sweat. It's hard. It's tough. I heard somebody say the other day that life is hard, but you get to choose the hard. Think about that for a minute. You really do. Life is hard, but you get to choose the hard. I mean, being fat, I'm sure is hard, but it's also being hard getting in great shape. Being broke is hard, but also accumulating a lot of wealth is hard, right? It's hard being a sales guy, but guess what? It's hard for the owner. We get to choose our hard. So in life, we get to choose and make choices of what we want to do. And the first thing I think we need to do to have a phenomenal 2024 is you got to reflect. You got to take time to reflect. Number 2, pick the one thing. Pick the one thing. Body, being, balance, and business. In all 4 of those quadrants, your body, your being and spirituality, your balance, and your business. Pick the one thing. Look, this can be completely overwhelming if we allow it to be, or we can make progress. Right? We're not trying to be perfect. We want expansion, not perfection. We can move forward, but pick the one thing. For example, in your body, pick the one thing you're going to stop eating or start eating. Maybe the one thing is better sleep for you. Maybe the one thing in your body is you're going to exercise 4 days a week. I don't know what it may or may not be, but your body, pick the one thing and just stick to it. Let's go as we get to February and moving on the rest of the year. Pick the one thing in your being, your spirituality. Pick the one thing. Can you meditate once a day, 5 minutes a day, right? Can you do breath work? Can you start praying, right? Maybe as you wake every morning or as you go to bed every night. How hard would it be to do just one thing, but do the one thing every day, every time, without fail, no exception, right? You got your balance, your spouse, and your kids. What's the one thing you can implement and do for your children? or your wife? What's the one thing you could do? I don't know what that one thing is. But one thing in body, being, balance, and business is 4 things you can work on without overwhelming yourself. In business, you're in sales. What's the one thing you can do in sales? Maybe the revenue you're creating, maybe the expenses you have, maybe the training you need. Right? I tell you guys all the time. And obviously I do coaching and all sorts of consulting and things of that nature. And I work with dealerships and individual people all the time. You got to invest in yourself. You are the number one stock. You are the investment. And when it comes to training, especially in your business, it's so costly to not train. And when most people learn to pay, they start to pay attention. Something for free, most people they don't even watch it or listen to it or attend it, right? So again, when people pay, they typically pay attention. I'll tell you just a little trick that I do. I operate by the law of 7. This came from the car business way back when I was selling cars, but the law of 7, I break everything down in a 7-day window. Everything is 7 days. The reason why is 30 days is way too long for me. I can't, if I'm halfway through the month and I'm supposed to do something every day and I did it 3 times and it's the 15th, I'm already blacked out and the month's over and I'm like, man, I forget it. But every 7 days, I track my KPIs. What are my KPIs? Meditation, journaling, gratitude, working out, exercising, AG1 supplements, amino acids. I mean, it sounds silly, but literally, every 7 days, every day, I'm tracking what I do. At the end of the week, I've got a perfect reflection of my KPIs, my personal KPIs. What are these performance indicators for me? Where am I lacking? Why am I lacking? Why did I not do this all week long? What happened here? And I can course correct. So that may be a tip for you that you may want to do. Just track your stuff, man, on a simple spreadsheet, or I have big, huge sticky notes like on my whiteboard that help keep me focused. Remember, anything that we do fast typically doesn't last, guys. We've got to be patient. We're in the long game here. We have to be patient as we work through these. That's why I say pick the one thing. That's why I started off with reflection, right? We got to be patient. You got to do it right, and we got to stick to it. It's all about our choices, right? Every choice we make, the choices we make create the road that we take. And it's so important to realize that in any given moment, we have choice. So if yesterday the choices were not so good, who gives a damn? It's over. Yesterday's gone, man. You can't labor on what you should and could have done because you didn't. It's not a big deal. Let's move on. Let's move on. Today is a new day, and right now is a new choice. And so I'm encouraging you to take that mindset, because really the mindsets, the skill sets, and the habits you develop is what's going to dictate your level of success or lack thereof. Okay, number 3. We're talking about the best year you've ever possibly had. The best year. Number 3, stop the vices. And I can speak to these, right? Because, you know, I've had vices, and the problem with vices is you lack clarity. You're not a sober mind, okay? And you don't feel better. That's the bottom line. And it definitely will affect your body, your being, your balance, and your business. We've got to find better ways to handle our stuff, right? Our everything that stems from these vices, right? This is all, you know, the subconscious programming is why we do what we do. But I can tell you, you know, it's a vice. If you got a question whether you should or shouldn't, or you have something or you don't have something, if you have a vice, if you can't stop it for at least the next 60 days, starting right after you hear this podcast, just boop, cold turkey, 60 days, you can't do it, more than likely, there's a dependency of some kind to sedate or not feel or to use that vice, whatever that may be. Alcohol, tobacco, pornography, energy drinks, overeating. I mean, typically these are all driven from a subconscious place. You don't even think about it anymore. Something happens, you just react. You get triggered and you do what you do, whatever that may be. If we want to create the best year we've ever had, or ever had in a long time, if not the best we've ever had, we've got to really, really put down the vices, right? And again, I'm on the same road with you guys. I know that if I don't put down all the vices consistently for longevity and long periods of time, it's going to stop my clarity. It's going to stop the way I need to show up in the world, and the things that I need to do to get better don't include vices. So, I mean, again, remember, if we're going to win the race, we got to take care of the Ferrari, baby. We got to take care of that Ferrari. We've got to put the best gas in it. Got to have to put the best tires on it. We've got to learn to take care of our vessel. God gave us this body, right? And we're shitting on him when we're not doing what we're supposed to do. And I've done that, and it gives me guilt, and my conscience doesn't feel right when I know that I've been blessed to be able to operate with this body, with this mind, and you get caught up in vices, right? So we got to stop the vices. Number 4, this is a big one. Master your craft. What do you do for a living? I can see how many downloads. I don't know how many people are listening right now. I don't know what you do for a living. You could be a manager, an owner of a business, a technician, a salesperson, a teacher, working construction, plumber. What do you do for a living? It doesn't matter though. The point is you master your craft, and that means you find any and all information about your sport and master what you do. Master what you do. Let me tell you the benefits of doing this, because I was obsessive when I was selling cars and working my way up to buying a dealership at every level. Sales manager, general man. I was obsessive to master that skill set. It didn't matter. I don't know if it came from insecurity. I don't know if it came from passion, a combination of both, the will to win, the drive to succeed, all of those things. I think have to be apparent. There's got to be a desire for you to even be interested in mastering your craft, because some of you have been doing it 20 years. You think you've already mastered it. The reality is we all can get better. There's always new information, new technology, something we don't know that we can get better. When we do these things, guess what? You become sharper. You become smarter. You start making more money. You start building more confidence in yourself. You start adding more value to others. Your team members, your spouse, your family. You start feeling good, and you advance your career when you master your craft. So what does that look like, right? There's 24 hours in a day. Let's say you get 6 hours of sleep and you work 10 hours a day. Hell, I'll give you 12. 8 to 12 hours a day. That's going to leave you with 6 to 8 hours to figure out when you can master your craft. 1 hour a day, 30 minutes a day. I don't know how much time, but literally, what do you do with your free time? If you're working 10 hours a day and you're sleeping 6 hours a day, you got 8 hours. What are we doing? And if you're struggling with the time syndrome, then just add more time. Simply add more time. I mean, if you go to bed at 11, you normally get up at 7, get up at 5. You just added 2 hours. So again, we can always make excuses, but we need to make adjustments. When the adjustments are made, we can start mastering our craft, and we can go to the next level, especially as it relates to our body being balance in business. Now, number 5, last one. Y'all hang with me on this one. This is probably, seriously, one of the most important ones of all of them, but I don't want you to get caught up as I begin. Number 5, don't get caught up. Just track with me, okay? Stick with the principles. Just track with me. Number 5, develop your connection to God. Now, this is not a religious rant, but this is a spiritual conversation for the next 3 minutes. I want you to really just be open-minded to understanding the power of the connection to God. It's been said that God will never give you more than you can handle. You heard that before? Yeah, it's been said. And there's 2 things that I think about. Number one, that's not in the good book. Doesn't say that anywhere. And number 2, it's not true. Because the fact of the matter is, if we had the ability to handle it all or handle everything, why would we need God? Right? So God won't give you more than you can handle, but if he gave you everything you could handle, you wouldn't need a God. You wouldn't need source. You wouldn't need his power. You wouldn't need his provision, his protection, his influence, right? So I want you to understand, however you perceive your connection to God, the universe, source, higher power, whatever you want to call it. For me, it's God, period. End of discussion. But here are the benefits. If you can, this is the most important piece. If you can connect with this and connect with God and grow your spirituality, not religion. You're not going to hear me say go to church every Sunday. You could. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I enjoy church. I'm not telling you that. What I'm telling you is relationship, not religion. Connection to God, right? When we do these things, you get the power straight from the source that created you, right? We're made in his likeness and his image. I mean, if you look, any of you that have children, obviously, the birth of a child is absolutely amazing. It's a miracle, right? The labor process that the mother goes through, the female goes through to create and carry 9 months is an absolute miracle. There's nothing greater in the world than holding your child when he or she is born. And we are made in that likeness. We are made in that image. And we get that power directly from the source. When we stay connected to God, we have power. A quick story. I remember one time I was heading off to work, and I seasoned up all this meat, boom, 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 and I threw it in the crock pot. And I'm getting ready to head out the door. I was in a rush that particular morning, and anyways, I put everything together for what I was going to have when I came back to add with the meat that was quick and easy that I could cook when I got home. Boom, I go to work. I come home, and I'm starved, and I don't smell anything. And I'm like, so I walk over to the crock pot. Damn thing's not plugged in, right? So I didn't have it connected to the source. There was no power. I could sit there with that meat all day long, and it's going to be sheer raw meat, because it never was connected to the source, to the power to cook it. And much like us, we've got to stay connected to the source. And regardless of where you're at in your spiritual journey, whether there's none, non-existent, or you're struggling, or you're connected, there's nothing more powerful than having that spiritual connection. It's gravely important. When we stay connected, not only do you get the power straight from the source, you also typically, naturally just start doing things for others. You start giving of yourself. You start producing good fruit, right? I mean, your tree starts to blossom, right? It just naturally happens. There's no explanation. It just happens when we stay connected. I mean, life is going to be hard with God or without God, period, without a connection. But when we're connected, we tend to have greater peace and more sincere joy. And it's unexplainable sometimes. Sometimes God gives you peace that passes all understanding in scenarios and situations you never even thought you could handle. Connected. Number 5, develop your connection to God. These are the things, men, that I believe we could have the best year we've ever had if we do reflection. Take the time of 2023. Pick the one thing: body, being, balance, and business. Stop the vices. Stop. Master your craft and connect to God. I believe myself can have the best year. So again, thank you for all you guys that are listening. Thank you. If it's the first time on the show, welcome. Hope you enjoyed it. Each week we're bringing topics that relate to body, being, balance, and business. They relate to leadership. They relate to sales. They relate to life's lessons. And look, we want to bring some substance to the table, and hopefully through the relevance of some of the things that I've experienced, good, bad, and indifferent. Please take the time to subscribe. Those of you that left me reviews, man, I'm telling you, thank you so much. If you haven't left a review, I would love to get one from you. Please subscribe. And if you know anybody that needs maybe to hear this message or one of the prior podcasts, send it to them. Send it to them. Show them some love. Show them some love. I just want to let you guys know I do have some courses coming, and I've got a brand new coaching program coming too. That's on the horizon, and I will let y'all know as that gets developed and finalized. If nobody's told you you're fucking amazing and you're awesome, you're fucking amazing and awesome. If no one's told you lately they love you, your brother's going to tell you I love you, bro. You got what it takes. I want you guys to rock and roll, be great. Nothing else pays. Until next week, we will see you on the Louie Herron podcast.